Hello everyone, I hope you're keeping well. It's Halloween, usually my busiest night of the year, but maybe not this year. It's been a really weird time, hasn't it? And I don't think I'll be back out there on the streets till 2021, that's for sure. So please, if you can, like you have from March this year, help support us by donating to the virtual tip jar if you enjoy. No amount, too small, too large, will be refused. So my friends, it's time to start the Halloween show. Over to Flecky and Buggerlugs. Ooh! The ghost light. A ghost light is an electric light that is left energized on the stage of a theatre when the theatre is unoccupied and would otherwise be completely dark, and it is always placed dead in the centre of the stage. This superstition dates back hundreds of years because it's believed that every theatre has its own resident ghost. That ghost light helps to keep the theatre alight, especially on Sundays when it would usually be dark. It helps to comfort that ghost. And it's also believed that the ghost light scares away evil spirits. But in this strange year of 2020, it means something else. Many theatres have been closed since March because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And the tradition has started again. But this time it means this theatre will reopen. And here at Flecky Bennett headquarters, we've been keeping our ghost light lit. And it still burns bright.
It still burns bright. It still burns bright.
It's Flecky, a special, a Halloween special. It's Flecky, a special on Halloween night.
Happy Halloween!
I can't get out. Where's the seam? Hello, my friends. How are you? Oh, happy Halloween, everybody. Let's have a look at you on that other camera over there. Happy Halloween. Oh, you're well. Do you like my legs? I'm sat on the stage. I'm sat on this wonderful stage. Let me just put my hands on my knees. That's better. How are you all? Are you well? Oh, yes. We're not playing games tonight. Have a look at this wonderful theatre which Buggerlugs has been making. Have a look at it from all angles. You're looking at it from the front. Let's have a look on the other side. Let's have a look on there. Hello. Hey. Wonderful. Hey. Whoa. Do you like my little legs? Oh, we're not playing games. That's better. Got a better grip now. So, I'm glad you've joined us this evening on Halloween. Bit different for me this year. This is the first time in 11 years I've not been out on the streets, but it's a bit nasty out there, so I'm glad I'm in here with you lot, and thank you for joining us tonight. So yes, this is a proper armchair theatre. Look at it. Yes, complete with curtains. We've got another thing that's going to happen in a few minutes, but I wanted to make the most of armchair theatre. And armchair theatre has got a big past. In Manchester, there was a very successful TV programme that started in the 50s. And in them days, when you watched something on television, it wasn't pre-recorded, it was live. And armchair theatre was one of the best pieces of drama you could watch back in the day. It was made here in Manchester. Here's what it used to look like at the start of the programme. Let's have a see.
And now, for your Sunday night dramatic entertainment, we bring you Armchair Theatre.
Oh yes, armchair theatre. Look at this. Look at these. Have a look on the other camera. We need to see the other camera thing. Oh, there we go. Look at these. Skull footlights. We're not playing games tonight. They also used to be called, you know when you get that saying, in the limelight, it's because that footlights had lime inside them, didn't they? That's what they used to ignite the lime. That's why we say now, look at them in the limelight. Yes, so armchair theatre. None of you out there old enough to remember that. Because as I say, it was in the 50s and 60s. Now, why am I telling this story? Well, it used to be filmed in Didsbury. Let's have a look at the theatre that it used to be filmed in. And that was ABC Studios. And that's where, the Beatles played there, and all the armchair theatre. Opportunity Knocks was filmed in there. And I like to say that me, Flecky Bennett, I trained there. That was my stage school. So I was very lucky to be inside that building for 3 years. But when I was there, they used to talk about it was haunted by the ghost of a dead actor. And I knew that story, but nothing happened to me while I was in that building in them 3 years. However, only yesterday I found out, I've added this to the performance tonight because it's such a good story. But in the year of 1958, they were filming an episode live on a Sunday night, straight into people's homes. I think it was 8 o'clock at night, Sunday nights. And the episode was called Underground. And it was a live episode. And there was an actor, and he was called, I'm trying to look for his name now, Gareth Jones, the actor Gareth Jones. So it went okay in the first half of the televised play. And then in the middle of it, he said, I'm not feeling very well. And he had a heart attack and died in front of his fellow cast members. And they managed, even though they were shaking and absolutely distraught, they managed to improvise around their dead colleague. And the ironic thing was that in the second half of this this televised play, the character that Gareth was playing died of a heart attack. So he actually died in the first half of a heart attack. And his ghost, the ghost of Gareth Jones, who was only 33 as well, in perfect health before that episode. That's the stress what us actors have to go through. And Gareth has been haunting, he was haunting Capitol Theatre from that day and the ABC studios. And now it's been demolished and there's a block of flats there. So maybe he's still haunting the block of flats. Oh, yes, indeed. So, Buggerlugs, I'm going to come out of this for a moment. Let me lean forward. I'm taking the footlights. Look at that. It's what you could have won. Hey, there you go, Buggerlugs. And she's done a good job with this stuff. I want to be able to lean forward and see you a bit better. So, my friends, I hope you're all well. So, what's tonight all about? Well, apart from it being Halloween, I thought we're going to go down memory lane a little bit. I do about 15 different performances. Well, I used to. Last, as I say, March this year was the last time. And after today's news, it doesn't look like I'm going to be starting in the near future. But I thought, why not pick one of the best stories from each of my performances? So some of you might have heard these stories before slightly, but it'd be a trip down memory lane. And some of you lot that are new people to me, Flecky Bennett, this is what you can experience in the future. And that's what I thought I'd do tonight. And also, a couple of my Fleckers and Fleckettes have sent in their own personal stories, which I am going to do a little bit later. But let's begin. So we find ourselves in Didsbury. That's where the ABC studios were. And our first story comes from my Didsbury Ghost Walk. And where we meet at the start of Didsbury Ghost Walk is this wonderful location. And it is called the Gates of Hell. Yeah, you've heard it here first. The Gates of Hell. That's actually its name in Didsbury. And I gather with my audience, and some of you will have done that with me. We gather outside it. And the reason it's called the Gates of Hell is 2 reasons. Firstly, it's the gateway to the second oldest building in Didsbury, which is the old parsonage. Let's have a look at it. An incredibly haunted building, haunted by the woman in black. And that's why it's called the Gateway to Hell, because it leads to that haunted house. And the other reason it is called that is because just outside the Gates of Hell, you've got a pub at either side. You've got the old Cock-In. Ooh, keep it clean, madam. The old Cock-In at one side, right at one side of the Gates of Hell, and at the other side you've got the Didsbury, which used to be the Didsbury Hotel and Didsbury Pub, and just behind all that is a church. So what would happen is, the Reverend the Reverend Kidd would come out on a Sunday and he would stand there in front of the gates of hell and he'd plead with the locals, please follow me down the lane to the church. Now you can imagine what a quandary those locals are in. I mean, I don't know what you'd do. Would you go to church or would you go to the pub? Probably the church is the only option after the next lockdown, possibly. But in them days, you go, I really want to go for a drink. Oh, what shall I do? What shall I do? Shall I go to the Old Cocking? Shall I go to the Didsbury? Or should I follow him to the church? Well, you can guess what people did. They went to the pub, most of them. And that's why they nicknamed that area as well the Gates of Hell, because what do you do? It's very confusing, isn't it? Oh, indeed. So them are the Gates of Hell. Now, the actual name of them gates is the Eagle Gate. That's the actual proper term. And they were bought from an old public house in Manchester. This is a picture of what it used to look like. It actually stands where Marks and Spencer's stand now on Corporation Street in Manchester. If you know where the IRA bomb went off next to that post box, that's where this pub used to be. It must have been a bloody massive pub because the Eagle Gate was the entrance to the Spread Eagle public house. And Spread Eagle's a bit of a kinky word, isn't it? Oh yes, we'll keep it clean. I mean, you know, there's sex and violence and bad language, but not from me, just you lot out there. So it was bought from there. And legend has it that there used to be two eagles, one on the front of the gate and one on the back of the gate. And many, many years ago, one of those eagles was whisked away by the ghost of a landlord because he was fed up of losing his regular drinkers as teetotal, church-going, nice people. So he spirited it away in the middle of the night. So that is the Gates of Hell, featured on my Didsbury Ghost Walk. Is it time for a drink? I bet you've all got a drink. I had a glass of wine somewhere. Where's it gone, Buggerlugs? I can't find it. Bloody hell. How are you doing? Are you all right? Oh, yeah. It's not an official drink, but we'll have one. How are they all doing? How many's on anyway, Buggerlugs?
Oh, we've got 79.
Oh, 79 of you. Oh, thank you for joining us. So from
Halloween, everyone.
Happy Halloween, yes, indeed. Let's have a look at Buggerlugs. Do you want to turn your camera around? There she is. Hang on, she's on there. Look at her. There she is. There's Buggerlugs. Oh, she's in action. She's in action. Oh, there's going to be plenty of action from Buggerlugs tonight, I can tell you. Oh, yes. She's been very badly behaved today, though.
I have not.
She's been doing me head in. I don't think I can take another 6 month of lockdown with this one. I don't know if I can. Yeah. All right. So.
You and whose army?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So yes. So for one gate, let's go to the neighbouring little place of Chorlton. I think it's a village. Well, there's an area called Chorlton Green. Some of you live there. I know if you've got a few bob. It's where the actors and musicians and writers all live. If I make a few bob when we get out of this, I might go and live there myself. But until then, please give generously. There's another gate, and it is a corpse gate in Chorlton. Let's have a look at it. It's an absolutely fantastic Grade 2 listed building. And what is a corpse gate? Or a lich gate, let me tell you. So what would happen is, that used to be the gateway, and there's still quite a few of them around. There's one in Didsbury, there's a corpse gate or a lich gate there too. And, oh, excuse me, windy pops. And you would keep your loved one. So when your loved one died, they would wrap them, or wrap the coffin, or wrap the body in a shroud. You would put it on a trestle table in the arch of the corpse gate, and you would stay there all night with candles and singing hymns and praying. And then in the morning, the priest would come out, or the vicar, and he would take you along the corpse road into the church. So corpse gates were used for that purpose. Let's have a look at it again. Now, as you can see, look at you. Get your act together, Buggerlugs. It's a long show tonight.
Well, they were similar.
all right, yeah, similar, yeah. So, she's a cheeky little chops. Let's have a look at it there. It's on 2 levels, and you can see there's another level upstairs. Well, there's a bell inside there, a bell. Oh, yes. And to stop the kids playing in the graveyard, all the adults around that area used to tell their kids that an old man used to live up there. And many years ago, he hung himself from the bell. You know, by the rope that swings inside the bell where the clapper is? He hung himself from that. So they told all the kids, if you ever hear the corpse gates bells ringing, it's because his body is jerking from side to side. I bet it looked a bit like this. going to go for a green light now. Let's change the atmosphere a little bit. Yes. So that's what they used to tell the kids, that a man hung himself from the corpse gate, and that's why the bell used to ring as his body jerked and did the dance of death on the end of the rope. So, on the green, opposite the corpse gate, is a wonderful pub called the Horse and Jockey. Let's have a look at it. It's haunted by the old landlord called White Leg. What a great name. But look at the right-hand side. This is the right-hand side of the picture, isn't it, that building? Yeah, at the right-hand side, as you're looking at everybody. I'm looking at it in reverse because I'll use a mirror to see what you're looking at. But that used to be a morgue. Indeed. So what would happen is, people used to go in the Horse and Jockey and you drink, smoke. And every time you bought a drink, the landlord would keep a little a bit of your change, and it was part of the burial club. And that was to pay for your burial when you died. So you drink, smoke, pay. When you died, they took you to the next building along, which is connected to the pub, which was the morgue. And this is the morgue now. And it's a beautiful florist called Floral Flair. It's quite ironic. My mum used to have a business called Floral Flair back in the day. So if you're watching this, mum, same name as your business. And I never knew this for quite some time, but when I found out, I was going, oh my God, that used to be a morgue. So I nipped in to see the people that took over, because apparently that used to be an antique shop, and the guy that ran it, he was only in his 50s, he had a heart attack and died, a bit like the actor, and he's supposed to haunt that florist. But I said, have you heard any ghost stories of your own since you moved in? He said, well, I'm afraid we have, yeah. He said, one afternoon, I was in the downstairs where the florist shop bit is, and he said, and I just saw floating above me this. Show the people. He said, like an old woman's legs, but the bottom half of her body floating round the ceiling. He said it was mid-afternoon. He said, I couldn't believe my eyes. And I screamed up to my wife, who was in the upstairs bedroom, because the living part's upstairs, and she shouted down, I know, I've got the top half here in the bedroom. There was an old lady's top half in the top room and a bottom half in the bottom room. So that's what happened. And I said to him, I said, oh God, that must have been terrifying. He said, it certainly was. It certainly was. Yes. I'll just have a quick burp. Oh, I'm back on. Hello. Anyway, happy Halloween, everybody. Happy Halloween. Cheers, everybody. Cheers. Now then, talking about morgues. Oh, yes. Let me just move to our next stretch. Some of you have been on my Altrincham Ghost Walk, and we end outside the only in the world hospital morgue that's been made into an underground bar. It's called Morzabite. Let's have a little trip there right now. Let's go. So that is Morzabite bar, or Morzabite, and it means sudden death. Very appropriate. It's an official, because we're talking about something that sells alcohol. It's official. Raise your glasses, everybody. Cheers. Spooky cheers to you all on this Halloween night. Ah, lovely. Yes, so obviously it's a very small bar, because it's just in the space that was the morgue of the hospital. So his Wynne, who owns it, has had a really rubbish time because it's been shut down most of the time. Just reopened slightly, and it's going to be shut down again last week because he can't do food. But when it was, this isn't, well, it's spooky, but not for the right reasons. He has a security camera, obviously, inside when it was locked up. And this little chap appeared. Let's have a look at, not Boris, Boris our, what is he called? Clown, Prime Minister, but Boris the Spider. Ooh.
Now he's dropped onto the floor, heading for the bedroom door. Maybe he's as scared as me. Where's he gone now? I can't see. Where is the spider? Where is the spider?
Look at the length of that spider's legs. Oh, I don't like it, do you, Buggy Lugs?
It's the creepy dancing like that front one.
I would not like that crawling around me at night. Apparently thousands run over our face and going our mouths up our arses at night, don't they? That's what I've heard. Imagine that creeping over you. Well, so he captured that. But Mortsabite, as I say, it used to be the morgue for the hospital. And the hospital used to be across the road from it. There's a bar above it called Riddle's Bar. And that used to be I can never say this. The pathology lab. That's right, isn't it? So if somebody died mysteriously, they'd be taken in there first, chopped up, found out what they died of, and then they would go into another area called a waiting morgue, where people were obsessed that they might not be properly dead, you know, they might be buried alive. We've talked about this a few times. So they go into a waiting morgue with little bells around their toes, just like what you get on them Easter bunnies from Lindt. That's right, isn't it? They're very useful for that. And if the bells didn't go off and they started to decompose, they were taken down into what is now Mortsabite. So when I first went there doing my research for the altering one, I said to Win, I said, have you got any ghosts? He said, yeah, we got two. He said, we've got one that floats around the ceiling area called Sasha. I said, oh, it's a bit weird. He said it's believed that it's somebody that was chopped up in the pathology lab and he's floating between both the floors. In the corner of Mortsabite, there's the old metal lift where they used to bring the bodies down from the pathology lab into the morgue. It's a wonderful little bar. But he said the best story is, he said, he started the same year as I started Flecky in 2009, and he said when he first started and he first opened, they would lock up at night, come back the next day, and glasses were thrown everywhere, tables were tipped over, toilet rolls thrown all over the toilet. So they had to get a medium and psychic in, and she came in and she said, it's this little table in this corner over here. There's a little girl sat here. Her name is Mirabelle. He said she's telling me she doesn't like being in the dark. So they decided to keep a candle lit day and night. They use a battery one now, obviously, because of fire regulation. You don't want to leave that on all night, do you? A naked flame. But since they've left that light on, she doesn't seem to bother them any longer. Until I went along. Oh, yes. I went one night. There was only me, my mate, Paul Oscar, who does all the music for these shows, and the barmaid. And I went in and I said, oh, yeah, I'm going to start doing a ghost walk soon. We're going to end inside here. She goes, oh, fantastic. And we sat around Mirabelle's table in the corner, and a proper candle was lit at that point because it was opening time. And she said, Flecky, make something happen. I said, well, I'm not a psychic, I'm not a medium, I'm an actor and a performer. I said, well, I'll give it a go. So I said, Mirabelle, if you're there, can you blow out this candle? And I'm not joking, it was in like a long cylinder glass, so you couldn't blow it out, it wouldn't even affect it. It went out slowly in front of our eyes within seconds. Paul Oscar, my friend, he ran upstairs, he was on his way out. The barmaid said, no, I can't cope with this, and she ran into the toilet, and the women's toilet, and immediately ran back out again, just because all the bog rolls were thrown everywhere, and she'd only been in there a few seconds before. So Mirabelle obviously still doesn't like her light being blown out. So that's Mortsabite, and hopefully in 2021, even those people that have got tickets which are going to be transferred onto it, you're going to join me inside the only mortuary bar in the world. Well, mortuary hospital bar in the world. So, my friends, let's have another little drink. Oh, yes, sorry, I did a little graphic there. This is what it might look like in that corner with little Mirabelle. Have a look. Let's have a look. Ooh. So that's the corner table there. And that's a little graphic I did. So if you do go in there and you get chance, even before you come on a ghost walk or whatever, just asking where, because that curtain you can see there in front of that table where the candle is, that's where the lift is that used to bring the bodies down. So it's a very spooky corner indeed. Oh, gosh. So that is the morgue. And Simon Allen, happy birthday to your mum. Happy birthday, Simon Allen's mum. So, my friends, let me talk about some underground locations that I visit on some of my performances. Okay, so some of you have been on my Stockport. I do 3 different performances in Stockport. A Stockport Ghost Walk. Sorry, I didn't mean to be rude. A Stockport Ghost Walk. One at Bramwell Hall. One in the air raid shelters and one at Staircase House. So on the normal Ghost Walk, I take you to, well, outside of, because we can't get in there, unfortunately, health and safety, not malarkey. But there's a wonderful old dungeon. Let's have a look at it. That is what it looks like from the outside. That upstairs used to be the courtroom, and the lower one that's on the steps, that is an old dungeon. There's actually a trap door that goes up from the dungeon into that room above. And this is a little visit to the side of it to give you a bit more what it looks like. Now let's just stay on that image for a moment. There's a tiny little wooden door that people used to be thrown through. So if anybody was pissed up or misbehaving at night time in Stockport, the police would grab hold of you by the collar and throw you in head first through that wooden door and then lock it behind you onto a solid stone floor. But don't worry, it was quite a soft landing because it was full of people with hangovers and drunks, and there was no toilet facilities, so it's full of puke, piss and poo everywhere, all over the floor. So as you were thrown in, it was just like going to Blackpool, what's it called, that sandcastle in Blackpool, that one that slides, splosh, right into up piss, poo and shit. It's very soft landing, so you'd be in there, so there were pickpockets, drunks and murderers. Oh yes. Let's have a look what it looks like inside in the other cells. These are the cells which, that's actually the cell you'll be thrown through the wooden door. But the next one, have a look at the next one. That is inside. There's 2 main cells inside there. Look at that graphic I did there, Bogeylogs. It's better than what you could do, that. I'll tell you that now. So, let's carry on. Right. So there you are. That's inside the cell there. Now, the most famous person to be kept in that cell was a murderer. Come back to me, Boggerlugs. And his name was John Dean. That's D-E-A-N. In Manchester, well, the next story, there's a place connected to John Dee. But this was John Dean. He used to work at the Hat Works. And he was a bit of a drunkard. And he used to spend his time around down Roystrom Brew, which is just around the corner in Stockport. That's where all the whores and pickpockets and cutthroats used to go. So he used to go down there after work, drink his fill, he'd whore and get drunk every night. And then he'd stagger back home to his wife, like you do. His wife, at one point, just before she died, was 8 months pregnant. And he went into his house, and his neighbours heard him shouting out these words, "Woman, why won't you die? Why won't you die?" And he was kicking her, and they could hear the screams, and he kicked her to death, and her unborn child, his unborn child. And he was thrown in that little hole with pickpockets and children. Horrible place to be. He was in there for a couple of weeks. Then he was taken up to the courtroom above, and he was sent to this place, which is Chester Castle. Let's have a look at Chester Castle. He was condemned to hang at Chester Castle. And he was hung outside Chester Castle in a gibbet. And he'd be hung there for many, many days until them birds came up and pecked off his flesh, pecked out his eyes, pecked off every single bit of meat of his bones, just like me having a KFC. Absolutely bugger all left. And then his gibbet with his skeleton was taken back to Stockport. Let's have a look at it. And he was hung in the market square in Stockport as a lesson to drunken men, wife beaters, pissheads. It was a warning to them. If you end up doing that, you'll end up like John Dean inside the gibbet. His skeleton disappeared. Nobody knows where it is now, but there's rumours it's inside the dungeon somewhere. Woo! So that is the dungeon. What are you laughing at, you cheeky get? Cheers, everybody. Hopefully, in 2021, I'm going to get access to that dungeon. I've got in with the right people now, so hopefully. But the best place, and some of you have been on this, and some of you want to do this, unbelievable location in Stockport. It's going to be the finest in the world. It's the underground location of the Stockport air raid shelters, which I was taking people in for over 2 years. and it will resume as soon as we can. It's the largest air raid shelters in the world. In the world. And if you've ever been there, there's a little touristy bit, which is only, you know, a little square area. I'd take you the full length. Now, let me tell you. Let's go under the graveyard. Fire away. Over to Ozzy. Under the graveyard. You might think that sounds like Ozzy slowed down, but it has to be slowed down because of copyright. Otherwise, Facebook and YouTube stop it. But if you ever want that tip, just slow the song either down one or speed it up one, and you're laughing. Anyway, I've paid my dues to Ozzy. I've got tickets for the last bloody 4 years, haven't we, for his gig? So we've donated to his copyright. So yes. A lot of you have been with me, haven't you, on the air raid shelter performance. Now, let me tell you, there's a church called St. Peter's Church. And on the normal Ghost Walk in Stockport, we stand there. Now, let me just tell you, I mean, it's a bit gory, but not many of you out there, I don't suppose, are going to be buried when you cut your clogs. Most people get cremated these days, but if you are going to get buried, just remember this. So, they dig a hole that's 6 feet under. That goes back to the plague. They believed that if it was 6 feet down, the plague couldn't be spread from the dead to the living. Then they found out, it doesn't really make any sense that. So they decided to make it 6 inches down. And then grave robbers were having a field day. So they made it 6 feet down once again. And it's still like that to this very day. So they get your coffin. You put inside a coffin. The hole is dug. You put inside that hole. It's covered back over with soil. Coffins are not watertight. All the moisture comes out of the soil and starts to fill the hole back up again. It fills to the top with water. Then the coffin starts to leak. And then your coffin fills with water right to the top. Your body's bobbing about in it. Bobbing about. Sloshing about. And then it starts to decay. Then it starts to seep. All your bodily fluids, your melted skin, your embalming fluid, everything starts to disintegrate and go into a gooey mess and start falling into the ground below the coffin. Now that's fine if there's nothing underneath your graveyard, but underneath St. Peter's Church graveyard is the air raid shelters, and because I get the full access, I take you into one of these areas. Let's have a look at it again. That is directly under the graveyard of St. Peter's, and there's some of my audience looking around gobsmacked, because what we're looking at, as your bodily fluids go through the ground, they start to form this white stuff called corpse wax. And that's what them torch lights on there are looking at. That's all the ceiling area of under the graveyard is full of bodily fluids, which has then turned into corpse wax. And have a look at this. This was captured on the very last performance in March before I had to stop doing them because of COVID. But that's corpse wax, that white waxy substance. And look at that in the middle. That is a tooth that's made its way down from the graveyard, from somebody's body, right into the red sandstone. Isn't that gory? And hopefully you'll get the chance in 2021 to come round the air raid shelter, the bits that aren't accessible to anybody else. So my friends, that's a jolly story, isn't it? Shall we have a quick drink before we move on? Oh yes. Now then, most of you out there would have joined me on one of my Manchester Underground performances. Firstly underneath the Great Northern Warehouse, and health and safety stopped it. Bastards. And then underneath the Barton Arcade. And then it got sold and that was stopped as well. If you do want to watch the full episode of the Barton Arcade Underground, it's on my website, manchestergosport.co.uk. It's one of the virtual performances, it's £6, or you can watch 3 virtuals for £10. Anyway, here's a little bit of one of the best stories from underneath Manchester Underground. Enjoy! It's the year of our Lord, 1642, and above our heads, Mary Melkrinkle lay her two infant children on the wall. Their names were Joshua and Jemima. It was a hot summer's day. She stopped to take a little bit of a rest. At that point, a drunken landlord come walking past and decided to do his party piece of juggling children, like you do. Higher and higher he juggled the two infant children into the sky, but because he was drunk, he stumbled and dropped them into an open sewer. They were swept down here into the underworld. Mary Melkrinkle searched all her life, but never found her children again. And those children are supposed to have been brought up by the rats. And when they became of childbearing age, they bred with the rats. Oh yes. Creating the monster rat people who still live down here.
Do you like rats?
Are you afraid of rats? I know a few out there that watching you have rats, don't you? The rat people have been haunting the underground of Manchester for years. Buggerlugs, you forgot to put the picture on of the Barton Arcade. Put it on now, let them have a look.
Wasn't my fault.
It's alright, so you can put it on now. That's the Barton Arcade, which that underground is underneath. One of the best examples of a Victorian shopping arcade anywhere in the world. Come back to me, Buggerlugs. So it's a known fact that Manchester Underground has got these rat people. And if you don't believe me, my friends, if you don't believe me, excuse me, windy pops, if you don't believe me, here's some evidence for you right now. The rat people, here they are, look at them. You've got the leader of the rat people herself, Gail Platt, changing the name from Rat to Platt, like one guess. You've got David Platt, the rat child, and you've got Martin Platt, the father of the rat people. And you know what he does now? He sells cheese. Not to me, that's not a bloody coincidence. They are the rat people of Manchester! Ha 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 I mean, we used to be spoilt with rat people, didn't we? Went to them when Jeremy Kyle was on, oh my God. And you still see him knocking about now, so you're not telling me there's also Stacey Solomon. But she's escaped to London, but I will get her back if I get a chance. So the rat people, yes, the Manchester rat people. It's documented, Mary Melkrinkle. So if you do want to watch the full story of the underground, go to manchestergotosport.co.uk, click on virtual performances. You've got 3 to choose from there. Buy all 3, only £10 plus booking fee. Anyway, so talking about rat people, you know where they come from? They come from Coronation Street. And on my Saturday night ghost walk, which would have been tonight if it had been the Halloween one. I used to do it twice on the Halloween night, but this is what would have happened tonight. I take you to the old Coronation Street set. Now, it's incredibly haunted. There's actually an episode of Most Haunted set there, so it's well worth watching if you get a chance. But it's haunted because the old Coronation Street set was built on an old pauper's graveyard. So they said that they've seen the ghosts of like scruffy children and paupers and stuff walking along the cobbles. Now obviously it's pretty derelict now, but when it was Coronation Street was being filmed all them years, one of the most famous actresses was a woman called Pat Phoenix, and she played Elsie Tanner. She was regarded as a great sex symbol. Let's have a look at Pat Phoenix in action.
I won't bother asking you for an apology, Mrs. Walker, though some folk might. I'll just get out of here and we won't be coming back. You've no need to bar the Tanner family. We're barring you. Lay one finger on me, Mrs. Sharples, and you won't need that hairnet. You'll have no flaming hair left.
You ready, love? Ready for off?
Oh, yeah. Just dropped my keys in with a neighbour.
How long are you away?
Ah, now there's a question.
How long is she going to be gone for? That's a very good point. Now let me just tell you a little bit about Pat Phoenix. Let's have a look at her. This is Pat Phoenix, and she played the part of Elsie Tanner. She was a very big smoker indeed, and she died of lung cancer. She actually kept it private, even from her own partner, who was the actor Tony Booth, who was not Lionel Blair, Tony Blair's wife's father. She was married to. I've glad I got that out. So yes, that was Pat Phoenix. And after she died, for years and years and years, Tony Warren, who was the writer of the programme, who invented Coronation Street, who was very good friends with Pat Phoenix, and he said that her perfume used to come into his home, because she often used to come round at night to his house, and he could smell her quite common. But the main thing was that in the actual her dressing room, let's have a look at it now, in her dressing room, after she died, at 9 o'clock every morning, that perfume she used to wear arrived, and it would leave at 5 p.m. at night. She had a very distinctive perfume, and they said it's really strong, and then it just disappears without a trace. So she was very, very active indeed. So active that a few years ago they had to call an exorcist in. Have a look at this. This is real footage.
I am not a threat. I am here as a messenger. All I do is carry a message. You have to leave this site.
Do you know what scares me even more? That if her spirit is still there, she's now wandering around in a derelict studio with derelict dressing rooms. You could just imagine a ghost floating up and down. It's where actually they've got crystal maze now in a section of that building. In the section of that warehouse you've just seen there being exorcised, that's where crystal maze is. Crystal maze actually contacted me and said, Flecky, we want you to be one of our guides taking people around. I said, that's fine, but who's going to run Flecky Bennett? They went, oh, is it only you? I said, yes. So let's carry on talking about Coronation Street, because some of you, not many of you, but some of you got a chance to come on my one performance. No, I did two performances, didn't I, of the cruise, of the Flecky Bennett's Manchester River Cruise experience. I did two of them last year. Some of you bought tickets for this year's. They'll be transferred to as soon as we can start again. Don't worry, we're going to go again. And on the Manchester River Cruise, we sail and go past the new Coronation Street. This is what it looks like now. They moved the entire studios and everything from Quay Street to a purpose-built complex, and that's what it looks like. It cost £10 million to build, and it's in the middle of Salford Quays, right opposite the Lowry. You've probably seen it, quite a few of you. However, things didn't get much better for Coronation Street, because they started seeing ghosts on that set as well. Not the ghosts of raggedy children or the ghosts of Pat Phoenix, but the ghosts of these people. Let's have a look at them. Now that is a navvy, basically. They keep seeing ghosts of navvies on the modern Coronation Street set. And that's because the Manchester Ship Canal, when it was being built, there were so many people died. There were 130 men died building the Manchester Ship Canal on that section round the Salford Quays, and they believe it's incredibly haunted by those dead men. Now, an amazing fact is that it was a guy called Thomas Walker which decided to build the Manchester Ship Canal, and his workers were called, well, they all worked for Thomas Walker. It was a very dangerous job. If you didn't die from being a navvy, you often lost your leg or your arm or your fingers. And then people, when they were spotted around Manchester and Salford after that point, they'd say, are you one of Walker's fragments? They were known as Walker's fragments because they'd lost their limbs working for Walker. And they believe the Coronation Street is haunted by Walker's fragments. It's a spooky one, that, isn't it? Eh? I should call. They actually were contemplating to have another exorcism done on the new set, because after they moved to the new studio, they never won one of them TV Choice Awards. They used to win it every year. Then EastEnders won year after year after year after year, and they said we're cursed, and they were contemplating it. Then they won it again. Cheers, everybody! Rover's Return. It's a pub. Raise your glasses. I forgot about that. Raise your glasses, everybody. Lovely doubly. Yes. So that is Walker's Fragments. Now then, my friends, this should be an exciting little bit of the show. I've had a few suggestions like last month. Why don't you do a few people's stories, you know, from my Fleckers and Fleckettes? So I've got a Fleckers story and a Fleckette story. Well, the Fleckers story has been told. Well, let's go through it right now. I've got a regular listener, Carl Hodgson. Hello, Carl. You should be out there tonight. I bet he is. So Carl told me a great story. He sent all the photographs through for me, and I made these graphics for you. But he lives in a place called Bolton. I actually do a Bolton Ghost Walk as well. Hopefully she'll be back next year. Talk about that in a second. But in Bolton there's an area called Little Lever. And in the 1800s... What's wrong? Have I missed something? What?
It's not in that order.
What's next? Oh! I changed it around. Oh! My mistake, everybody. Would you be able to do that or not?
Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah. Let's keep it going.
Okay.
Right. In Little Lever, in the 1800s, the main business for the men was coal mining. And there is a little lane called a Hall Lane in Little Lever. And it used to have all the cottages that belonged to the people that worked in the mine. And they used to have to, it was walking distance, so they didn't have to get any public transport. However, they used to have to start very early in the morning. Now, there was no Siri to wake you up or any alarm clocks in them days. And what they used to do is, one person who lived in that area, who worked at the mine, was given the job of a knocker-upper. And you would get extra money, and that's what a knocker-upper used to look like. I've actually done some knocking on the doors, you can hear it there. You go along with a long stick, and he'd knock on the outside of your window, and he'd knock on the downstairs, and he'd keep knocking until you actually came to your window and said, "Thanks a lot, lad." And his name, this one, was Daniel Walker, that guy. And Daniel Walker worked at the mine. So one day, and this was in 1897, and he was at the mine. He'd done his knocking up in the morning. All his friends had followed him, his colleagues, to the mine, and there was a terrible accident, an explosion. Might have looked a bit like this. And many people died, including Daniel Walker. And he was only 27 years of age. The knocker-upper for all them people. He died in that explosion that day. And then shortly after his death, he was dead and buried, and they had a service for him and stuff. And a few months went past, and then people started hearing in the morning a knocking sound. Can you do me a knocking sound, Buggerlugs? On the windows, early in the morning. They're going, oh, and they look out, nowhere to be seen, and then it kept happening. And then people started to get a glimpse of the ghost of him, of Daniel Walker, walking up and down Hall Lane, knocking on the windows. And then somebody decided that he was a boggart. And boggarts were sort of anything people were afraid of, really, like a poltergeist. They called him the boggart of Hall Lane. And somebody said they followed him one day, and he went and got inside a tree. This is the tree. And it's known in Little Lever as the boggart tree. And he got inside that tree, and that's where he lives when he's not out knocking early in the morning to this very day around the neighbourhood. So, our friend Daniel Walker is still knocking from beyond the grave. I put sound effects on it, you don't need to do that.
You just pointed at me like you wanted me to do it.
No, it's on the actual slide, you're alright.
No, honest to God.
So he's knocking from inside his grave. Daniel Walker, the boggart. So that's a great story from Carl Hodgson, isn't it? I love that story. Mm-hmm. And we've got one now from a Fleckette called Deborah Contessa. She's a cool goth, a real cool goth. So Deborah's story. So Carl's was just like he was relaying a really good story that happened in that area. But Deborah's story is something that actually happened to her. And I tell you, it put the shits up me, really. When Deborah Contessa was a teenager, She'd just gone to bed one night as normal, like you do. And then she was woken up by what she thought was flashing blue lights going past her bedroom window and the sound of sirens going past. So she got out of bed, put her clothes on, made her way around the corner, followed where all the noise was coming from, and she came face to face with a terraced house which was up in flames. She knew that the woman inside, she knew her slightly, the woman inside. She was a bit of a drinker, so she thought, she's probably set fire to her. But there was all them fire engines there, there were the police there, flashing lights. It was a terrible scene, but they believed they got everybody out. And then Deborah went back home, got it back in bed and went back to sleep. The next morning, her mum at the breakfast table said, did you get up last night and go outside the front door? She goes, yeah. She goes, I was woken up by those sirens and stuff, and I just thought, going to check what it was. And I walked around the corner and one of the houses were on fire. She goes, oh my God, that's terrible. Anyway, they both decided to go and have a look, and they walked around the corner and there was nothing happened. Not a single, no evidence of the fire from the night before, nothing. So Deborah's mum said, did you have cheese before you went to bed last night? You know, like you do, don't have cheese. She said, I swear to God, I went out and I saw it. She went, you must have dreamt it. You must have dreamt it, then you were sleepwalking. She goes, well, I must have been. So Deborah went to bed that night and she was exhausted for all the activities of the night before. She had a great night's sleep. And then in the morning, they were knocked up by a neighbour. And the neighbour said, did you see what happened last night in the early hours? She goes, what? She said, house round the corner, one of the terraced houses, went up in flames. And Debbie and her mum, Deborah and her mum went, got dressed, went round the corner, and this is what they saw. The property all burnt out. Deborah Contessa had witnessed it all 24 hours before it actually happened. How do you explain that, anybody? How do you explain that? Brilliant story. What are you waving at me for? Yes?
To tell you to stop talking so I can put the next slide on.
Oh, gotta stop smoking. Yes. So, spooky, eh? So, my friends, this is the part we've been really looking forward to, isn't it, Buggerlugs? Oh, yes. Now, some of you have travelled on our virtual ghost bus before, and you know that we've had it made waterproof now because we can sail on canals like we did in the Chester one, which is available on YouTube and Facebook. Please give generously. We've been to Paris on it, so we know it drives on the roads. In Edinburgh, we managed to do a bit of flying, and we need to do some more repairs. So, Buggerlugs, just show them what you did the other day. Let's go down into the garage. So, yes, underneath where we are now in the flat, it's a bit like where Batman, is that where Batman lives? He has an underground cellar like that. You know where Batman keeps his Batmobile, his Batcave? Well, Buggerlugs keeps the virtual ghost bus down there. Now you can see she's got some kind of device there with sparks flying off it. She's been very busy. Just wait, Buggerlugs, just wait. And yes, so that's what she's been doing. So let's just go over to Buggerlugs for a second. Are you coming back to us? She's back at us now. Let's have a. So what Buggerlugs is going to do tonight is she's got a nice surprise for us, and she's going to go down into our underground garage, and she's going to go and put your stuff on while the people can see.
Right, okay.
And put your red glasses on and stuff. Yeah, she says she's got her own little outfit now. She's got, it is like a pirate ship that's been converted into a bus, so it makes sense. The red glasses, she's got some things to put on her arms. Have you got them ready? She's getting dressed. She can't see with them on. So yeah, I'll try to keep you lit up. There you go. So she's she's putting her arm things on. So what's going to happen tonight is that Buggerlugs, we're not going to go with her tonight, by the way, but we're going to give it basically a test flight. And we're going to have her fly around the UK, but we're going to watch from the comfort of our homes tonight. I'm not going. We'll sit here and watch, but Buggerlugs is going to go down. I can speak to her via the cab. We've got a microphone in the cab.
Yeah,
we've got a microphone, camera in the cab, and we've got a camera in the underground station. So just come back to me, Buggerlugs.
Right.
So she's just going to come back to me for a second. So, my friends, shall we have a look what she's been up to? Little bugger lugs, yes? So let's just give her time to get down into the garage. Okay. I think she should be down there now. Let's do like they do on the news when, you know, you go over to somebody live. Bugger lugs, are you down there now? Are you down there? Are you down there, bugger lugs? I'm just waiting for her to respond. Are you down there? Are you down there, bugger lugs? Oh.
Yes, I'm down here. I've put jet engines on the bus. We're going across the Atlantic next month, so that's why we needed them. We're going on a test flight. Right. See how this goes. First time with jetpacks. Anything could happen. Hold on tight. Hello, Fleckers and Fleckettes. I can see London approaching. Oh, there's Richard. Hi.
Happy Halloween, Fleckers and Fleckettes. Lots of love from the London Ghost Walk.
Bye, Richard. I can see Blackpool Tower. Oh, I think that's... yeah. Hi, Stephen!
Happy Halloween, Fleckers and Fleckettes. Lots of love from Blackpool Ghost Walks.
See you later, Stephen! Happy Halloween! Nottingham approaching now. And there's our friend Simon. Hi, Simon.
Happy Halloween to all you Fleckers and Fleckettes from the original Nottingham Ghost Walk.
Bye, Simon. Happy Halloween. Oh, can see Edinburgh approaching. Hang on. No, that one. It's James Douglas. Hi, James. Happy Halloween.
Oh, fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell Flecky Bennett's English bum. Hello, Flecky and your Fleckettes. I hope the bus journey's going well. It's your old mate James Douglas calling in from bonny Edinburgh, and we'll keep it bonny. Stop sending your willy-wart-riddled coronavirus victims up here, alright? Hope you and your mates have a lovely time on the bus journey. Quite quiet up here. It's me and Margaret. Say hello, Margaret. There we go. Happy Halloween, Flecky. Wait!
Bye, James. See you soon, hopefully. Nice steady British journey. Let's have some tunes.
I need to be myself.
Alright, here we go. Time to try and land this thing. Hope it doesn't crash. Oh my god!
Oh, I hope she's alright. I hope the bus is alright. Oh my god. I've been operating the... I had to operate the thing then to watch, and made a bit of a bodge. Because just as Buggerlugs is making her way back up from the garage down below, I meant to show you that our next trip at the Atlantic, that's why she's put the jet engines on, because we're travelling across the Atlantic and we're going to do a virtual ghost bus tour of Salem. You know where the witches are from? Yes, that's going to be November's performance. So come back and join us for that as well. Hope you enjoy it. I think Buggerlugs just have arrived back. What's that?
Sorry, pal.
Look at the state of that, Buggerlugs. Why did you... I saw you, what you did with me hat. You can take that and have it cleaned. She puked in me hat. Let's have a look at her. How did it go then, that your journey? Let's have a look at you. Come on. How did it go? Was it alright?
Tell you what, glad to be back on terra firma.
I bet you are. Get your stuff off. Come on, get your stuff off, then we can continue. Bloody hell, fire.
Talk about bone shaker. Goodness me.
So it's a good test. It's a good test flight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, take your hat off. Get the air to your head. Come on now.
It's going to need a bit of work.
Come on now. Right, come on, get back to the star at show. You're not the star of the show. Come on now. You've had a fair do there. Gosh, she's milking it, isn't she? She's milking it. So yes, that's having a little trip up and down the country there to some of my fellow ghost walkers. So they've got London, Nottingham, Edinburgh, Blackpool. And most of them aren't operating tonight because of what's happened. I have got a friend out there who was supposed to be coming out and waving at the flyby, called Greg, and he does the Lancaster Ghost Walk. But unfortunately, him and his partner have got Rona at the moment. So get well soon, both of you. Keep well.
Get well soon, Greg.
Get well, and hopefully be back soon. He does a fantastic ghost tour about the Pendle Witches, because Lancaster obviously is where they were executed. So get well, Greg. So yes, on that flyby, which Buggerlugs just did brilliantly. I hope you enjoyed that. I did immensely. On the flyby, we went over Blackpool. And I just have to mention this because Blackpool is one of the main reasons why I'm here tonight doing this sort of thing as Flecky Bennett, because Blackpool and Hammer horror films are what made me the person I am today. And the reason I'm saying Blackpool is Blackpool Pleasure Beach, and one thing in particular, this. Yeah, you can see it right there. Blackpool Pleasure Beach Ghost Train. That ghost train was such an influence on me as a kid, and I was very lucky. I used to go at least once a month and go on it when it was open, summer season. And it's the oldest ghost train in the world, built in 1930. There was no other ghost train had that name until that was invented. That was the original ghost train in the world. Still going strong to this day, and it's believed to be the only ghost train which is actually haunted. And again, most haunted have got a great episode where they actually walk around in the dark and go in a carriage. It's great fun. It's haunted by one of the old workers there who love the ghost train with a passion, a ghost called Cloggy. Cloggy the ghost. So yeah, Blackpool Pleasure Beach Ghost Train and Hammer House of Horrors is what made Flecky Bennett who I am today. So I'm saying, so my friends, I bet you've all been on it, haven't you? Yes. So let's oh yes, talking about ghost trains, Buggerlugs needs no excuse at all to fanny around with props, do you, Buggerlugs?
No.
And she's made her own little ghost train, especially for Halloween. It's just here. We're going to show you now in our hallway of horror. So let's have a look at our ghost train. Let's have a quick look. So that's a lot of fun, isn't it? A lot of fun. Yes, that's the state of our hall at the moment. She loves bloody decorating. I couldn't give a toss myself. I don't really like them kind of decorations, but I put up with it just to keep her sweet.
Half of them are yours anyway.
How dare you? So, the state of our hall to some of my performances that take place in stately halls. Do you like that? We're not playing games. So our first stately hall is this one. Let's have a look at it. Now, unfortunately, none of us have had a chance to go there yet. Well, some of you might have done, but not with me. Just before lockdown happened in March, I'd started to create the Ordsall Hall experience, and that's Ordsall Hall. Come back to me, Buggerlugs. That's Ordsall Hall, and got the script written and everything, and sold tickets. So some of you out there will have tickets. Don't worry, they're still valid from when we can start it. So I'm really looking forward to doing Ordsall Hall. It's got a fantastic history of ghosts. In fact, they've got a live ghost webcam that's online every night. So they really embrace it. Some of the stately halls like to say, "Oh no, we're not into ghosts and stuff," but Ordsall really do. But I don't want to spoil the ghost stories. But one of my favourite stories in there, well, I found out about it through our friends at Most Haunted and Derek Okora. Gone but not forgotten. Over to Derek.
I just feel as if I want to cry. I'm not going to physically cry, but I feel that way because what seems to be replaying back to me here from the energies is of a crying and a screeching and a screaming of a young child. I experienced a taking off from this area, like a decapitation. Mm-hmm. And right here I feel as if we have conditions below of the remains of a young child.
Ask you something specific about the ground?
Yes.
I don't know how clear you get the energy from the ground, but could you kind of walk around the edge of it? I mean, you say it's around here somewhere.
The energy stops there. Stops also there. It's centred here.
Okay.
Centred here. The strongest at that level here.
Now, it's quite fascinating. Whether you believe Derek Okora had any ability or whatever, but you can see he sensed there was something under his feet. And quite a few years later after that, after Derek had thought about this and actually said it wasn't documented, they started to do some excavations. And they found that in that area of the kitchen would have been a well. Let's have a look what that might have looked like. That's what it would have looked like. And I've spoken to the people at Ordsall, and they said that there's two wells. There was one discovered outside and one exactly where Derek had said he could sense something under his feet. And that one that was in the kitchen dried up apparently, and things were thrown down it. Food from the kitchen mainly and waste, but they believe a little boy was thrown down that. They're still trying to verify that, but it was spot on. So if he's spot on about where that well was, then he's probably right. Come back to me, Buggerlugs. So yeah, a little boy's supposed to be thrown down that well, and here's what it might have looked like. And what a tragic story. And people say that when you walk around Old Sullow Hall, you can hear him shouting, "Help me!" all echoey, because he's inside the well. So there's a ghost little boy that owns the kitchen, who's trapped down there in that well. And hopefully in 2021 we'll get a chance to see it. And they've done one of the best things with it. Have a look what they did to it. That's what they've done now. They've actually put a glass lid over it. So when you're there, you can look down the holes into the well. And we're going to stand round that. And we're going to try to summon the little boy's spirit when we get chance in 2021. Yes! Now, I talked to you before about Bolton. I do a Bolton ghost walk. But one of the stories I talk about is a stately home in Bolton called Orlinth Wood. Can you say that, Buggerlugs?
Orlinth Wood.
Orlinth Wood. Orlinth Wood. Hall in the wood. That means a stately hall in the middle of the woods. Orlinth Wood. And it's very famous because a guy called Samuel Crompton, who invented the spinning mule, going back to the mills and the industry, he invented it and he lived there as a child. And he used to talk, he was terrified of a ghost that used to haunt his room. That's what it looks like from the outside. And what he used to see most nights with this woman. And she used to tell him off. She was really stern, and he'd tell his parents, Betty told me off again. They say, oh, it's just an imaginary friend. Betty told me off again. And this happened over and over again. And still to this day, when school children do trips to Orlinth Wood, there's reports of school kids saying, there's a woman in there who's not very nice. She told us to be quiet. And when they go in, there's nobody there. And other children said she told us her name is Betty. So what do you think about that? Betty. She don't like kids, obviously, that's for certain. But one of the stately halls that we go to quite a lot, and that some of you have been to, you've really got a chance to, is Bramall Hall. Oh yes, look at the wonderful Bramall Hall, built there by evil fairies. And in 2021, hopefully we'll be back in there again. Now, let me ask you, those that have been to Bramall Hall with me, I bet you remember one thing, apart from how brilliant my performance was, but the other thing is the picture of the nun. Now, nuns are quite in, aren't they, on horror films? But this nun takes everybody by surprise. This is a painting of the nun, and it dates back to, I think it's 1616. Yeah. And she's known as Lady Abbess. And apparently she was the age of 48 when that was painted. Now, people are freaked out by her. And every single person that visits the hall, it's the only thing they really remember. It's like she hypnotises you with her eyes. I was told that even people that went to the hall like 90 years ago and 80 years ago and 70 years ago that come back as elderly people, first word is the nun still on the wall? It's the only thing they remember, and those that have been on the performance with me, I bet you remember as well. She's in a little hallway of the hall, and she used to be right in the middle of the window, like on the wall opposite the window. But people were terrified to walk past the window. They said her eyes used to follow you, so they moved her off to the side. But since she did that, she's not resting. She seems to be sort of a haunted portrait, because after the staff have locked up, switched all the lights off, they go outside, and when they look back, they see this. They see that area of the hall, the light coming off and on, and they believe it's because of the nun. So nuns are they're quite a spooky character, especially after the nun film that we saw a few years ago. So that's the Lady Abbess. Oh, yes indeed. So my friends, I know none of us could go out this evening. And although we've had a few people knocking on the door and pressing the buzzer, shouldn't be out really, shouldn't because of COVID, but trick-or-treating is a no-go this year. Oh no trick-or-treating this year. No trick-or-treating. Have you got that thing that I put on from earlier, or have you not got it on there?
What?
That skull from the front, from inside your ghost train. Is it on next one? It don't matter.
No, I don't think you put it
Anyway,
on.
yes, trick-or-treating. Did we used to do that when you were kids? Yeah, well, we all did, didn't we? And
there's a video at the very bottom.
Well, I don't know. Trick-or-treating, yes. Now, did you used to do that? It dates back to the 1600s. Now, tonight, just imagine that me and Buggerlugs, have a look at Buggerlugs. Hang on, she's coming on camera now. Me and Buggerlugs, Come back to me now. Enough of you. Star, trying to take over the show.
Hey.
Me and Buggerlugs. Well, I've dressed up. She's not done so much. Dressed in costume. We've come to your home. We've knocked on your front door. You've invited us in just like a vampire. And I'm going to say to you now, trick or treat. Trick or treat. Now listen, just because we're not there actually, you can't treat us. So remember, if you're enjoying it tonight and you want to treat us, we'll go out and buy our own sweeties, our own candy afterwards. So please, give generously to the tip jar. Trick or treat, everybody, trick or treat. So have you all done your pumpkins? Yes? Have you all carved out your pumpkins? That's a really strange tradition, and it's to keep away evil spirits. It's all about lanterns being lit on Halloween. It used to be carved out of turnips originally, but now we have pumpkins. Make a nice job of pumpkin soup, don't I? I do indeed. So, you've got your lanterns and you carry them around because that light keeps away evil spirits. Because on this night, Halloween night, it's the time when our two worlds are the closest together. Two worlds are closer together at this point. And the worst place is Pendle. And as you can see on that graphic you're looking at right now, they're really keen on keeping the lanterns lit round Pendle. I wonder how many Pendle witches are flying around tonight, because between 11 p.m. tonight and midnight, it's when Pendle gets inundated with the witches flying around the woods. And back in the day, people would walk along with their jack-o'-lanterns, their pumpkins, and their lanterns to keep away the witches.
I already saw a witch tonight, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. Was that over Pendle when you saw that witch? I thought it might have been. When we flew over, you saw it, didn't you? Yes, so you would keep your lanterns lit to protect you from the witches and evil spirits. So tonight, just remember this. The worst time of this evening, that's why we're going to finish before that time, because I want to get in bed under the sheets. Because between 11 p.m. tonight and midnight is when it all happens. Don't be watching any horror films or anything like that between 11 and 12. If you are going to spook yourself, stick a candle in your window. That's what they used to do. And make sure it doesn't go out between 11 and 12, because if it does, you're done for. Oh, yes, indeed. Now, another location that I use is Staircase House. And you need more. You need more than a lantern to protect yourself inside that place. That's in Stockport. I'm the only person that's allowed to go around all the rooms. And believe me, it's terrifying. There is witch marks everywhere. They were really obsessed with witches at Staircase House. So much so that they used to make these bottles. Well, they used to bury babies behind the walls. They used to put cats behind the walls to keep away the evil spirits. But what they used to make was a witch bottle. And I made my own, which I take with me. And you know, if you've been on the Staircase House, I made one. If you want to make one yourself, this is the ingredients. Let's have a look at the graphics. So a witch bottle to protect yourself, especially between 11 and 12 tonight. Get some metal, iron pins or iron nails. You need to put that inside a bottle. Then you get 25% urine. Do it in a little sample jar like that. And 25% human hair. And we're talking about head hair and your pubic hair. So if you haven't shaved, you're in luck. And you put it all inside that bottle. Put the lid on. Shake it up. Now what it is witches do not like iron. It reminds them of how they used to be tortured. So that they ate that. And the witch's curse is soaked up by the piss and pubic hairs. So tonight, when you get home, or if you're there now, to protect yourself between 11 and 12, piss and cut your pubes off. Bit nasty that, but that's the way it goes. So yes, now then, over to Buggerlugs. Trick or treat, my friends, trick or treat. Yes, now did you get me that the cake you made?
Yes.
Get it for me, Buggerlugs, get it for me. Now there's another tradition that dates back even longer than the pumpkins. Oh yes. It dates back to the 1500s. And it's a thing called souling, as in somebody's soul, souling. And you go from house to house and you bake something called a soul cake. Now, Buggerlugs has made me one today. They're a bit like a scone, to be honest. But unfortunately, unlike a scone, they got cinnamon and stuff in, which I'm not keen on. And you're bloody adamant. You want me to eat this, don't you?
Yeah.
I don't really want to eat it because I can't stand cinnamon. I hate it. Do you really want me to eat this?
Yes, of course I do.
Well, let me do the next story before I do.
Alright.
I don't fancy it. But they made them, everybody made soul cakes. And it's supposed to capture the soul of a dead loved one or a relative. So you bake them and you go to somebody else's house who'd lost somebody within them 12 months and say, this is the soul of your grandmother or the soul of your grandfather or whoever. And it was to appease the spirits. Soul cakes. And you used to sing a little song. And it goes like, soul cake, have mercy on my soul. Here's a soul cake. If you want to Google it, you'll find that Sting did a version of it. It's very good, very catchy, isn't it, Buggerlugs?
It is.
So, but I don't fancy eating this. I mean, she's a terrible, terrible cook, is Buggerlugs. No, she is.
No, I'm not.
In lockdown, I've been nearly poisoned. Nearly poisoned every day. All right, well, I'm sorry. But, I mean, listen to it. Listen to it. It's rock hard. But I'll give it a go in a minute. So let's change our lights.
So ungrateful.
Let's change. Sorry, I didn't mean it. Oh, Buggerlugs, help me.
No.
Help me. It's all gone pear-shaped. I want to put the red light back on. Here we go. So, are we right now? Here we go. Now, my friends. I forgot where I'm up to. Yes. So, from a rock hard cake, which Buggerlugs has made me, because she's not the best of cooks, but she insists that I try for some reason. She's been on at me all day. You must try this soul cake. Well, we'll see.
I haven't. I just know you're funny, but you
All right. Whatever. Okay. But from a soul cake to a cake of death. Some of you got the chance to come on my Ancoats Ghost Walk before March. And let me tell you this story. There was a woman knocking around Ancoats many years ago. And, horrible looking woman. Let's have a look at her. Apparently she had buck teeth. Really sticky out front teeth like a rabbit. She was so buck teeth she could eat an apple through a tennis racket. She was that bad. And one day she was there and she knocked on a doorway in Ancoats. The little boy come to the door like him. Said, could you deliver this cake for me, little boy? Said, little boy, can you deliver this cake for me to a Mr. Drummond just round the corner? Little boy said, yes, I will pay you a few pence for your time. Give this little boy but she was a funny looking bugger. Tell you, she could get pickles out of a jar just for the teeth. He said, take that to Mr. Drummond. So the little boy, and then she wandered off and she sort of vanished into the distance. This little boy had this cake and he went to Mr. Drummond's address that she gave him, knocked on the door and a woman came out. She goes, he said, is Mr. Drummond there? She goes, no, he's out at the moment. She goes, I'm Mrs. Drummond. She goes, I've got a cake for you here that I've got to deliver. She goes, we've not ordered a cake, so no, it's not ours. He said, a woman's told me. She said, take this cake to Mr. Drummond. She said, well, we've not ordered a cake, so we don't want it, sorry. So this little boy thought, well, what can I do? So he walked around the streets of Ancoats looking for this woman with buck teeth. Couldn't find her anywhere. So he thought, well, nothing I can do. So he went back to his mum. He said, Mum, I've got this cake. Someone told me to deliver it, but I can't find her. She goes, well, if you can't find her, let's have it. So they started slicing it up. And they went out into the street and gave it all the other kids. And they were having a bloody great time, munching away. And then they all started feeling very sick. A griping sensation. They started to foam at the mouth. And the little children were starting to die one by one. This is what it might have looked like. This is an illustration of a child from the time dying from what happened. So just imagine that little boy died. A doctor was called. They came into the house and said, what's happened to your child? Said, well, he ate a piece of cake. What happened then is the doctor would make a slit down the child's stomach, reach in to get the contents of his stomach, that cake, give it a quick sniff, and then throw it into the fire, the open fire. Start sizzling away. And if it smelt of garlic, he knew why the child had died. The child had been poisoned by arsenic. Yes, this woman the rabbit woman of Ancoats had laced this cake with arsenic. Now they believed that she was having an affair with Mr. Drummond, and that he put an end to their affair, so to get revenge she decided she might see him off. It was very common for women like Buggerlugs who got fed up with their men, if you got fed up with your partner, to poison them with arsenic. It was very common back in the day. Put little amounts in their food over a small period of time, they would die slowly, or put a big lump in and it'd be instant death. It got so bad because arsenic used to be sold at every chemist that the government banned women from buying arsenic from chemists because it was the housewife's choice. Get rid of your men, poison them with arsenic. So this woman was never found again. And it's believed that she still wanders around the streets of Ancoats every night. A few mistakes on this.
Right, and have you seen how many slides are on?
Yeah, no,
but you having a go at me for? Have you seen? It's hard work trying to keep him in time.
I could do a better job than that.
Yeah, well, you do it. You'll see. You'll be bloody sorry, you will.
What do you mean I'll be sorry?
Yeah, you'll see.
What do you mean by that?
Just shut up and get on with it.
Are you there, are you, my friends? Time for the soul cake. Oh, that's a bit funny. It's a bit dry. I don't want to drink my wine. Oh.
Get some really good ideas from these stories. Happy Halloween!